All right, it is Tuesday morning. It's 10 past the hour, and we catch up with our good friend Monica Hannan. Good morning and Happy New Year, Monica.
And same to you, Jay. How are things going there?
Hey, going real well. I'm not sure if you heard last night, but we had a bit of a scare at our Bismarck airport. There was a bomb threat that was called in, and so all is fine, though. It was, again, one of those threats that are usually lead to nothing, and thankfully they do.
Yeah. Excuse me. I had not heard that.
Yeah, it was
I
late
have
last
not
night.
talked much. Sorry, I haven't talked much this morning. So you get the early morning.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, suffering from a bit of the flu because it is going around. It's very, it's out there.
Yeah, people are talking about that around here too. No, I'm not suffering from anything. It's just a morning froggy. We used to call it when I was working, we used to call it old man voice, making old man noises, and that's still kind of what it is. No, I just haven't talked much this morning, and it takes me a while to get up to speed. But yeah, no, I so did they close the airport? I had not heard that.
It was closed for a bit, evacuated all of the guests out of the terminal. Uh, I don't know exactly how long it was closed down, but it was for just a bit. And again, it was, I'm sure they had the dogs in there, sniffed it out, but everything turned out to be okay.
Yeah, I don't know why people do that kind of thing. I mean, it's just what to just to disrupt things. It's so irritating. I know I could not always understand, when I was a kid in school and people would do that, it was
Hmm.
because they hadn't studied for their test or whatever. That made sense to me. But
That's,
but just to cause trouble, I never understand that. Getting back to the flu though, it is apparently like a really bad flu season, and that the flu is kind of a tough one too. So do you get a flu shot typically?
I was going to. So my daughter works at a pharmacy, and she keeps telling me, stop on in, we'll get you hooked up. I think this is probably the week that I will do it. Uh, because I didn't want to do it leading into the holidays. You've got so close into Christmas, and you are, at least I do. I get laid up for a day. I get that feeling
Do you?
effect. You get kind of, yeah, I get kind of drowsy and kind of sick because you're getting injected with the flu strain.
Well, it's to boost your immune system. Of course, it's a benign strain, so it's not
Hmm.
giving you the flu. It's just revving up your immune system a little bit.
And so I kind of feel a little down, and I didn't want that happening during the holidays. So now this is the week I probably should do it. I might do it today, in fact.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. I don't know. I always get the flu shot. Have for years, ever since I got the flu. One year I got the flu, and I have asthma, and it was a particularly
Hmm.
bad flu that year, and I
Okay.
was really, really sick. So I just determined after that I never want to have that happen to me again. So I've gotten a flu shot ever since.
That leads us to a great segue, and I'm glad you brought it up because this week, in fact, I think it was yesterday, the CDC has made some changes in childhood immunization schedule. Have you read about this? They're removing the universal recommendation for multiple shots.
I have read that. Some of the shots that they removed from the suggestions are not shots that used to be recommended. So,
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
instance, some of them, I like the hepatitis shots. I don't remember my children getting those shots until they were heading off to college. I don't remember my kids when they were little getting flu shots routinely. So I don't think it's the ones that, for instance, you and I grew up with, or even that our children maybe got when they were small.
Hmm.
So some of the shots, the COVID shots, I don't know that I would have gotten my children COVID shots either necessarily
Hmm.
now. So I don't know. I know it's a controversial decision, but what did you think?
Well, it's perfectly fine. I think that it should be like you're talking the universally recommended RSV. I think that's probably a shot you might need as a child because my daughter was 9 months old and she did contract RSV. And it was very scary at the time because I was a first time parent for me. We had to put her in the hospital here in Bismarck, and it was scary. So I can understand that. But
Yeah.
the flus and the COVIDs, that's up to parents. The hepatitis, I can't even say the word, I can't say it. Monica.
Meningococcal. Yes.
Yes, I can't say it. I'm looking at the word right here. Again, I can't say it. So
Meningococcal,
anyway,
Jay.
thank you. Um, Listening to doctors, especially, there's a doctor in the Senate, I believe, Cassidy. Is he from Louisiana or out east somewhere? He says, quote, I feel this may cause unnecessary fear for patients and doctors. The schedule is not a mandate, but rather a recommendation that gives parents the power to choose which vaccines their children receive. And I'm on board with him. I feel it's the same, I feel exactly the same way he does.
Right, right. It's not some of the ones that uh, that we have been so controversial. Like it's not the measles vaccine that they're not recommending.
Right.
I my son also got RSV and ended up in the hospital for a couple of weeks. So it is I and that wasn't available at the time, and so
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to have prevented that experience for him. I'm a proponent of vaccines personally. But
Sure.
not all of them, not all of them. I'm not going to get another COVID vaccine, for instance, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that can be controversial, but the COVID vaccine made me way sicker than COVID. That's just me
It did.
personally. It did. I got sick. I got 3 COVID vaccines and I was really sick every time. So,
I got
and
I
when I
got
got COVID,
two. But COVID, the very first time I got it was really bad. Um, it was,
yeah.
it was, it was not good for me.
See, and I know a lot of people had that experience too. For me, COVID was like a cold. It was just like a cold and really wasn't bad at all. Whereas the vaccine, and admittedly, the vaccine, the effect of that only lasted a couple of days.
Hmm.
Whereas if
Hmm.
you'd gotten COVID, it did for a lot of people was really serious. And I didn't get it until after I developed some immunity. So I know
Hmm.
initially if I had gotten COVID before the vaccines were available or when it was really first out and people didn't have immunity to it, I probably would have gotten very sick. But now, now that people have developed a certain amount of immunity to it, if and people who are, have immunity issues and things like that, they obviously need to listen to the advice of their doctor. But my
Yeah.
doctor didn't recommend it. He didn't recommend it for me. He didn't think it was a
Yeah.
good idea to get the next one.
I think it's up to the individual. You talk with your primary care physician, whatever you two decide, that's perfectly fine with whatever you decide. I'm not going to step on your toes or tell you that you need to do this. That's just how I roll, and I think that's how everybody should roll. To be honest with you, you keep your own
Hmm.
side of your street, and I'll stay on my side, and we'll go with that. Big news
Right.
story this week. Of course, you heard. Representative Meeks there talking about the arrest of Maduro, President Maduro, brought back to the country. I like to call it a reverse icing, if you will, right? I mean, we didn't fly him, we brought him back into this country.
Yeah,
What was your
it's
initial
been interesting. Yeah, it's been
What was
interesting
your
to see the
initial
reaction here.
thoughts when you heard that or saw that?
I was surprised, but then in listening to people talking about it, especially in hearing that, at first I was really surprised that we had gone in there and
Hmm.
arrested and brought him out, and but then in finding out more about, because we've been listening for weeks about the raids on the attacks on boats and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, but then in hearing that the Biden administration had, during the Biden administration, that there had been, like basically a bounty on him,
Hmm.
so, it seems to me like he's had a sword over his head waiting for it to fall for a long time. Obviously, um, it just seemed to me that there were an awful lot of reasons to arrest the guy. And
Hmm.
so, it's a really controversial issue. And I hesitate to wade in there too much because, there are a lot of issues that I'm not aware of. It is
Right.
interesting here in Washington, D.C. to watch the fallout from it. And um, people are definitely, I think they're falling more on the side of it's about time to get rid of the guy. What are you
Yeah,
seeing there?
absolutely. I feel the same thing as he was. not elected. He lost the last election. He should not be in that office of the country, and he rules like a dictator in Venezuela, which Venezuela is a very beautiful country. It's twice the
Mhm.
size of Texas, and Texas is a huge state, right? I mean, it's got a lot of natural resources, and one of them, of course, being its oil. um,
Right.
I found it very odd, to be honest with you, that the president, Trump, would consult with the oil companies here in before making his move. But again, it's we've all seen this movie before, haven't we? We've seen the movie we did in Iraq. Weapons of mass destruction. This time around is the drugs, the cocaines, the fentanyls, if you believe there's fentanyl there or whatever it is. So I feel like we've seen this all been done before. My question is, what is the end game for it? I know that right now we're ruling it, but we're not going to be there. Please, I don't want to be there for 20 years like we did the last time.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the flip-flopping that's going on with the vice president there too. The person that's now in charge.
Sure.
She's in a tough position there. It'll be interesting to see what she decides to do, how she, does she decide to cooperate? She's in a tough political position. If
Mm-hmm.
you're watching what's going on in the streets of Venezuela, I saw last night on the news, and of course, who knows what's really happening, but I saw that it's not, you can't be protesting in favor of the Maduro arrest. That's not happening. So
Right.
she's walking a pretty fine line there.
Yeah, yeah, it's really going to be something we've got to keep an eye on going forward. Of course, is it a little bit, as Meeks said, a little bit of the wag the dog?
Mhm. Well, it's the oil companies, as I understand it, those oil companies had their companies taken away from them when they socialized in Venezuela.
Hmm.
So, and if you were to turn that around and you were to say companies that are owned by Chinese interests here, if we were to say, well, we're going to take those now, those are ours because it's on our soil, how would that go over? Right?
Right. Yeah.
So, if you allow somebody to come in and buy a company and say, okay, this is yours, even though it's on your soil, you allowed them to come in and buy it. Do you have a right to then pull the rug out from under you and say, well, it's ours now. Sorry, you developed it, but now we're going to take it. I can understand why the oil companies would have an interest in that, right?
I do. And one of the things that I just doing a little reading on it, a lot of the companies, your Exxon Mobil, Chevrons, whatnot, down in Venezuela in the early 70s, mid 1970s, they then, because it's heavy crude that is drilled for there in Venezuela, they then went to Canada, invested all of their money in Canada, which is heavy crude as well. So they've got that. But let me ask you this real quick, and then we'll move on. But if these oil companies have to invest billions of dollars to get this Venezuelan oil get going, wouldn't they be cutting the rug out from underneath of them for the Canadian crude oil? That's just going to lower the price of the oil.
Well, that is an interesting problem, something that we would have to ask the oil experts, especially because the infrastructure hasn't been maintained, is my
Right.
understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And they are going to have to go in and invest, as you said, billions to bring that up to speed. That is a good question for the oil folks there in North Dakota. It'll be interesting to see what they have to say about that.
Absolutely.
I
We'll get
suspect
to the
that will be
bottom
in
of
the
that.
news in the days ahead. Yeah,
I think so.
good
I
story
think
for
so.
KFYR. Yeah.
I think so. Yep. And real quick, we got about 5 minutes here because I'm going to actually talk with Mario Armstrong from the Consumer Electronics Show. Are you familiar with the CES?
I am not familiar with the CES. Well, oh, you know what? That's not true. Every year we did a story from their
Mm-hmm.
convention, the nifty things that come out of it. Yeah.
Sure. It's a techie gadget type of show, the big things that are coming out this year. So, really cool stuff. I've got this, and I want to show this to you because this caught my eye. I talked with a gal yesterday from the CES, and this here popped up on my radar, and I want to show this to you. I think it's about a minute and 45 seconds, so we'll spin through this real quick. Tell me what you think.
Meet Oval, the world's first AI home hub. Oval is a 3-in-1 device that brings security, home connectivity, and an AI companion together in one intelligent system. What makes Oval different? Edge computing. Everything runs inside the device itself, which keeps your data local and private. No heavy cloud computing required. Subscription costs.
Okay, sounds like we're losing audio there. Well, that's really unfortunate.
I think I get the idea.
Okay, so yeah, we lost audio. I'm not quite sure why, but so this Oval is the world's first AI home hub, home security. It unites your smart devices. It's an AI companion. It's got adaptive behavior. See that? Looks for your glasses or like you lost your keys. It'll recognize where it might be. Obviously, if it's in plain sight, but I mean, we could always see if it's in plain sight too. It recognizes danger points, as you see there as well. I mean, it's pretty neat to have.
Yeah, I don't know. We have to embrace the technology because it's here, right? So we
Right.
can't run from it. We can't run from it. I don't like the fact that somebody's listening to every doggone thing we say. And not that I'm saying anything that anybody couldn't
Sure.
hear, but there's a limit to how much of my life I want out there on the cloud.
Okay, so here's the kicker, and I'm glad you brought that up. Here's the kicker, is that this is self-contained. It doesn't go on the cloud. It's right in that box right there. It does not go anywhere. It stays right in
So
your
they
home.
say.
So they say, unless, oops, sorry, we'll jump it in here. So they say, as long as you do not get, I guess, hacked with your router system, which anybody could hack at any time. They could do it whether you have that system or not, I suppose. But that is self-contained. It does not go into the cloud. It doesn't go anywhere else.
Okay, well, if that in fact is true, I guess I would. You apparently want one.
I'm thinking of getting one. Yep. And it's subscription based. It's like $20 a month or something, but it's kind of neat.
Yeah, it would be good for my husband. He refuses to carry like a man bag, and he has all these things he has to take with him. And every time we get in the car, I have to say, okay, do you have your this? Do you have your that? Do you have your this? Do you have your that? Because he has all this stuff he needs. The women have a purse, but he won't carry one. So I have to remember all these things. So maybe he can have like a little device that can do all that for him. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. Let me get one, and I'll give you a product review. How does that sound?
All right. That sounds good.
Fantastic. We're going to have to cut her short. I've got Mario waiting for me from the CES. So, Monica, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll catch up with you again next week.
Next week I'll be on the road, but I'll try.
Okay. We'll make arrangements. Thanks, Monica. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Bottom of the hour here. Quick break here at the news desk. We're right back here on KFYR Plus.